Hello, everybody. This is Paula, and this is Whoever Holds the Stone, and here is the stone. We don't really actually hold it anymore, though. We just it's a metaphor.
Can I hold it though?
You can hold it right now.
Oh, well, but you're talking, so
But
I
I'm
mean
talking,
later.
yes.
Later.
So anyway, I finished, I mentioned last time I finished Herodotus. So I'm reading this. It's called The Mammoth Book of Eyewitness Ancient Rome. So it's a lot of people like Seneca and Cicero and all of those people. And sometimes it's just anecdotal, like somebody talking about their slave running away or something like that. So it's kind of interesting because you get a mixed bag of information about ancient Rome. But in this one, I really liked this passage, and it's by Cicero. Okay, I'm not that familiar with Cicero. I don't know much about him, but it's called Surely Nothing Can Be Sweeter Than Liberty. Cicero on the Republic. It was written in 70 BC. Okay, in this one passage here, he's talking about different forms of government. He's talking about kingship. He's talking about liberty, being a republic, and he just has a lot to say about it. But this particular passage I felt was kind of relevant. Okay. But if a free people chooses the men to whom it is to entrust its fortunes, and since it desires its own safety, chooses the best men, then certainly the safety of the state depends upon the wisdom of its best men, especially since nature has provided not only that those men who are superior in virtue and in spirit should rule the weaker, but also that the weaker should be willing to obey the stronger. But they claim that this ideal form of state has been rejected on account of the false notion of men, who through their ignorance of virtue, for just as virtue is possessed by only a few, so it can be distinguished and perceived by only a few, think that the best men are those who are rich, prosperous, or born of famous families. For when, on account of this mistaken notion of the common people, the state begins to be ruled by the riches instead of the virtue of the first men, these rulers tenaciously retain the title, though they do not possess the character of the best. For riches, names, and power, when they lack wisdom and knowledge of how to live and how to rule over others, are full of dishonor and insolent pride. Nor is there any more depraved type of state than that in which the richest are accounted the best. But what can be nobler than the government of the state by virtue? For then the man who rules others is not himself a slave to any passion, but has already acquired for himself all those qualities to which he is training and summoning his fellows, such a man imposes no laws upon the people that he does not obey himself, but puts his own life before his fellow citizens as their law.
That's an amazing quote that I've never heard. I've heard a few quotes of Cicero before, and he's a biggie. I know he's huge in ancient thought.
He's a huge guy.
Huge. He's a big gun.
Yeah.
As they say.
Well, you know what? I didn't introduce...
That is so apropos to right now.
Yeah, oh, I know. That's why I wanted to read it.
Now.
So the thing is, we were with Richard and with Brian today. I got excited, and I forgot to introduce people. And of
okay.
course, Tom is not on drums today. We don't know where Tom is.
But
I don't know. I know it. In reading this, when I read it, of course, I thought about our autocracy now, where we've got all these rich people going and oligarchy standing with the president, and him thinking so highly of these people because they have money and they have power through their money, and how dangerous that is, because they're just interested in their money. They're not interested in helping people. They're not. It's not like...
But I think American culture has been drifting to that for decades now, because you can see it in the populace. in TV shows and culture and everything. They worship rich people, and they equate materialism, wealth, with greatness.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Richard?
I think it's dangerous to think that wealthy people have some kind of special power.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Trump was running?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people said he'd be a good president because he's a successful business. Now, you could be cutthroat,
Right.
like John D. Rockefeller.
Good point.
Would that have made him a good president? I don't think so.
Right.
No. And the thing is,
But the masses are dazzled by riches. It's part of the materialism. Our culture reeks of materialism. Like high levels of thought, like displayed in Cicero right there, are not loved by many people anymore.
but you know, and I was listening to this.
That's why I was awed by that quote. I've never heard it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that is absolute brilliance. That's
Yeah.
absolute. It's such a high level of intellect. It's incredible.
Well, yeah, that he's known,
I could have never written that.
he's known for that. You might say he's known for that.
He's a kind of smart guy, yeah.
But just the idea that our and I see it just in advertising. Everything is, if you have this expensive car, you will be happy. If you have this expensive kind of perfume, you will be happy. This all these expensive things. So of course people are looking at money as the source of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so they figure if a president's rich, maybe he can make us rich. You know?
That it directly translates. Yeah.
It doesn't, because he doesn't care about that. I mean, I'm sickened by our politics right now.
I was sort of hoping we weren't going to go.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with any. To me, any knowledge is good. Are you going to read anything else in there?
No, that was my only
That was
piece
it?
that I'm going to do.
Mhm.
Richard-
I am awed that you're so much. And I remember this from like a year or two ago, that you read all this stuff that to me is kind of like heavy duty.
It is. It's horrible to read.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And
It's
I can't really. I don't do it. And when you tell me some of the stuff you read, I'm kind of awed. I'm like, wow, that takes a lot of dedication.
Do you know, just because I'm reading it doesn't mean I understand all of it. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
what
you understand enough
I
of
was
it, though.
telling Brian. Now I'm watching videos like history professors they put out, or a lot of British videos on YouTube that's explaining to me what I read in Herodotus that I didn't understand. So I'm getting to see pictures of the triremes, the boats. They show, like a cutout section of like the 3 levels of rowers, and they're showing how the people got around it, what was happening in the world, and they're explaining it in English, modern English that I can understand. So it's starting to take shape in my head, and I'm liking this. This is a new strategy for me. First get the hard crap in, and then enjoy the. It's a.
To fill in the details.
It's what we're used to. We're used to video, right? I mean that. So for me, it's visual, and I can get an idea of what I missed, and then it's making sense to me. The parts of it are coming back to me, and that's good. And this is just like blurb. It's a blurb book. It's just like little pieces of information that, and some of it's good, and some of it's just funny. Like if your slave runs away and and goes with another slave, a female slave, how to separate them.
I shouldn't have been chuckling to that, but
yeah, I mean, it just ridiculous things that you wouldn't think about that happened in ancient Rome. Like I used to like to read about what the Romans ate.
Mm-hmm.
They eat songbirds whole.
Yeah.
They didn't cook them?
No, they cooked them, but they were crunchy. They were like crunchy morsels.
So eating the bones was part of it.
Yeah, so they would like pop them in their
Do you know
mouth.
what? I just saw a video a month or two ago, that now that you brought that up, on the island of Cyprus, they still do it. and there's environmentalists, and there's game wardens, there's cabals of gangs that put nets out in the woods or in the fields to catch these birds, and they sell them like on the black market, and they're starting to deplete all these beautiful songbird species.
Well, Richard, have you heard about these clubs, the endangered species clubs,
Tell me more about it.
where they meet someplace in total secrecy, and they eat endangered
I've
species?
heard of that. Yeah.
I have heard about that.
Yeah.
Like they have connections. First of all, there's a bird that you eat, like you just said, you eat
Yeah.
it whole, you with the bones and
Yeah.
everything. Only certain chefs know how to prepare it.
Mm-hmm.
So what these clubs do is they have this network of people, including the chefs, pay them large amounts of money, pay the poachers large amounts of money, and then
Yes.
they meet and the chef
secret.
prepares the meal for them.
I know. Isn't that creepy? That's really creepy.
Yeah, I was a chef, but I never learned how to do. I never would have done that, or I
That
never.
it shows the lengths that people will go to who have money to burn like that.
And they look at it as a delicacy or whatever, and it's a status. It was in this thing in Cyprus too. It's a status thing. There's a few restaurants that secretly serve it, but you have to know the owners, and
Yeah.
it's incredibly expensive, like Richard said,
Uh-huh.
and it's all
Yeah.
on the down low.
Yeah, it is. It's insane. The wealthy, we should eat the rich. That's what we should do.
Did you hear when Bill Burr said that, and then he was like, "I was joking," and he got some serious flack from the right,
Yeah,
and
we saw him in a play in New York.
he's
We
a
went-
pretty smart guy.
Yeah, he was actually the best actor on the play.
The
Oh,
name
yeah,
of the name of the bird is ortolan bunting.
Okay,
Ooh,
So
cool name.
is it pretty?
that's interesting. What does that? Yeah, see,
But is
I
it-
would
but
have
is it
asked that
tasty?
question.
Is it tasty?
Or
Yeah, I think they prepare it with some secret herbs and stuff from the middle Europe.
let's see. What does the ortolan bunting? Oh, it looks a little like a sparrow. You want to see it?
Yeah, show me the picture you found.
Great.
Oh,
We just went off.
No. Let me see here.
oh, there we go. This is the little bird. I mean, I don't know how. It's just
He's a pretty bird.
it's got a little green head.
Yeah, that's the same one I found.
Yeah. That must be the go-to.
I'll take a dozen, please.
Oh God, Richard.
How much meat is on there, right?
Well,
Because
that's-
even I got a game hen. Somebody gave me a couple game hens, the Cornish game
Yeah.
hens. It's like there was hardly, I mean, I had them before, and they looked big, and I thought, oh, there's going to be some decent meat on there. It was
even
like
when I was eating-
nothing but skin and bones, really.
even when I was eating a lot of meat, I couldn't eat them because they looked
Yeah.
too tiny,
Too cute.
They were just like, I can't do this.
A tradition has evolved on how to eat those birds.
A Cornish game hen or the
No,
the,
No,
bun- the buntings.
Yeah, the ortolan
Ortolan.
bunting. So it is put in a like a bowl type structure
Mm.
and served with a towel over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the towel over your head
Oh
and
my God.
and inhale the
Aroma.
wonderful aroma as you're eating it.
Come on.
It sounds gross.
It's a ritual. It's a ritual.
Well, rituals, people like rituals.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm just learning about my own rituals, so I know that I didn't know I liked rituals until I started having some.
All humans do in some respect.
Yeah.
Does it give them a sense of
Excuse me.
continuity?
Mm.
Yeah, continuity and actually a little bit of meaning. Like they do the tea ritual in Japan. It's a
England too.
very, very specific.
It's 4:00. It's time. Would you like some tea?
Except in Japan, it's more of
Oh, yeah,
you know,
with the
like
matcha and
the
the-
whole thing.
It's a ceremony.
It's
Yeah.
a ceremony.
Yeah, it is.
So I think that
Mm-hmm.
we do crave that. And I think one of the problems we have is that we don't have a coming of age ritual
Mm-hmm.
for young people.
For young men, especially.
We should have some coming of age, because all of the old,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like the primitive cultures have something.
Mm-hmm.
And we, you know, what did we have as we were growing up? We had confirmation. That was supposed to be our ritual for becoming an
For
adult.
Catholics, yeah.
Yeah.
Paula told me about a movie she liked called Pretty Things.
I think I've seen it, yeah.
And then in this movie, there's this ritual of, you know, teenage to manhood.
Mm.
The father takes the kids to a brothel.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually sits in the room.
Yeah, oh, I remember
And
now.
he talks,
I haven't seen it in
remember,
a long
he tells
time.
the kid, you know, you're doing this right. No, you got to do this now.
I think that I
Yeah.
don't think that's I don't think it was unusual 50 years ago for a father to introduce their son to sex and a similar. I don't
Maybe
know.
longer than 50 years ago, but
Yeah.
maybe 100 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, maybe 100 years ago. I guess I'm
But-
getting old to say.
do you
50
think
now.
that was a good idea?
No.
No.
No? Okay.
No,
No.
it reduces sex to an act.
Mm.
Yeah, just physical
Yeah.
act, yeah.
So I don't think
It is
that,
a physical act, but there's more to it. But
yeah, I don't think that that's so. Let's hear. You wanted to read us something, didn't you? Didn't
should
you
I
have-
read poetry
Did
for
you
a minute?
have poetry,
Or,
did
you want me to?
wanna, did you want to go into that?
Yeah, this is something I've been thinking about for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years now. And I sent you that video by the woman scientist. She's a paleoanthropologist in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And Ella Al-Shamahi. Brilliant. I watched that video and I was very impressed. And she was talking about humans and tribalism, and I've been really, really stuck on that for years, feeling like it's a totally integral part of humanity, that civilization as we know it, cities, etc., have only existed for about roughly 5,000 years, more or less, give or take 1,000 years. But human beings have been around for maybe 200 to 250,000 years, and we lived in tribes for all that time until 5 or 10,000 years ago. So it's so ingrained. Tribalism, I believe, is so ingrained in us because we lived that way for almost 200,000 years, more or less, that it's just a part of us. And I look at the modern world and I feel like unless we somehow transcend that directive, or it's almost like a genetic thing in us, and we learn how to not make it a one world government, like people are scared by that, but like if people just accept each other as different and different cultures as different, and we get above those barriers, and I really think we're going to self-destruct if we can't subsume all that. And I recognize that that's going to be awfully a big thing to do, like, because it's so deep within us. And the first sociologist actually was an American. I took sociology in college, which is probably why I think about this stuff. And I took only a little anthropology, nothing like you, but I took more sociology. And the first actual professor of sociology was at Yale, an American named William Graham Sumner. And in 1906, he wrote a book called Folkways. And he was the one that first started using the term ethnocentrism. He was born in 1840, died in, I'm not sure where he died. It's, I think in the early 1900s, more or less. But so ethnocentrism is when, very simply, when you believe your own group is superior to all others.
Yeah.
And then he said, he talked about the survival of the fittest, and he was against elitism and imperialism. He was for the common man, and he was called a neoclassical liberal. along with Grover Cleveland, who was the mayor of Buffalo, incidentally, and became president. He was opposed to the Spanish-American War, as Grover Cleveland was, because they saw it as the beginning of imperialistic tendencies in America. And there were a lot of people against, like
Yeah.
when we fought with Mexico.
I don't know much about that war.
And
but
we
yeah.
took over, like Mexico used to own all of Southern California, Texas, and Arizona, and we just took it. And a lot of people were against that. And so anyway, he wrote an essay in 1881 called Sociology. That was the beginning of, he was the first professor in the world in sociology at Yale. And he emphasized a connection between biology and sociology. And he said that there's two sides to the human struggle for survival itself. The first aspect, the first side of our struggle for survival in the world is between man and nature, which is pretty evident,
Yeah.
right? Like if you go back to the caveman days and, trying to survive and you're hunting animals with spears, blah, blah, blah. So the first aspect is between man and nature, the battle between man and nature to survive. But the second, he said, the second side of it was a competition between man and man. And he said because, blah, 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 excuse me. Yeah, I tail off on my notes on Sumner there, but I thought that was really critical,
Yeah.
though. And historian Mike Hawkins, I guess he's a pretty well-known historian. I had never heard of him before, but he labels Sumner as a social Darwinist, like the struggle for survival and all that, the strong survive kind of crap. But that's not explicitly, I don't think, what Sumner believed, but it was kind of a reality. But Sumner believed that real warfare, like large-scale warfare that like the Romans and Greeks had, did not stem from man's primitive nature, but is from more developed societies. More developed societies engage in large-scale warfare, and it's a consequence of that. And what, tying back to Ella Al-Shamahi, the paleoanthropologist, she talked a lot in that video about tribalism, and she says that human beings have not evolved since our ancient days to live in the modern world with the technology that we
It
have.
happened fast, that's why.
But there's many people, many philosophers and sociologists have talked about how we've advanced so rapidly technologically. This is something I've been thinking about for decades, since my college days. But our internal side, our emotions and our, your, how do you say it?
Physiology?
Our thought.
Yeah.
Our thought hasn't kept up with the advances in technology. And now we're going into the AI world and all that. And she says we're in deep trouble.
Yeah.
Because with the advance of AI and everything, this is something even beyond any technology we've even developed so far. And it's been a great gulf between the primitive times and now. And we are floundering right now, she said, but we're not even nowhere near prepared for artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
She said we have to catch up. Our internal world and thought is way in maturity. We're not mature, And she says we're still cavemen. She says
Right.
cavemen. We're still cavemen inside, but technology is way up here.
Yeah.
And she said it's a huge, huge gulf that is possibly going to destroy us. And
Yeah.
that's what I've been thinking about for years.
Yeah, so can I comment?
Yes.
Okay, so the thing is, unfortunately, people are afraid of the unknown.
Sure.
The known they can handle. They've got a skill set to
Mm-hmm.
deal with what they know. And as soon as something comes up, another tribe or another type of person, and they don't know the rules with that causes tension. With the Romans, and we just talked about this before the show, the Romans they were looking for expansion. They wanted to expand. They wanted more land. They wanted to rule the world, basically. And then they run across people who are just driven by their emotions, and they happen to like this piece of land in Italy because it was great to grow grapes and they could have wine. And they fought in a different way, and they completely confounded the Romans. But we've always, it used to be like, now we have wars. Yes, we always have wars. But there used to be something that was called the season of war.
True. Yeah.
Every spring, they would go out to war to take something from somebody else.
Territory or goods.
Right. They wanted the land, but they mostly wanted their stuff. They wanted their gold and their stores of food, and it was avarice, basically. But they would just stay home in the winter, and then it was war season, and they'd go back out and they'd attack. That's how it's been.
Well, they didn't have trucks and planes and all kinds of stuff that they could move around in the winter better. Like, it was very hard to get around.
Yeah, it was hard to get.
They didn't have modern shipping and all that.
It was hard to get around, but it was more or less.
Yeah.
They
got drunk all winter.
we now, even though we have this horrible war in the Middle East, we have the war in Ukraine. I don't know. Is there anything else that?
But I was just going to interject that Richard opened my eyes in the beginning, like a couple of years ago. Like, the war in Ukraine's been going on 3 years. And I didn't realize at first that there was all this oil and liquid gas under the ocean near Ukraine, and that basically that's what the smart people think the Russians are after, like minerals and oil and gas. And I didn't realize that at first. I thought it was more of an ethnic thing, because the Russians do believe the Ukrainians should be part of Russia. They believe that 100%. They say that over and over and over, that they should be part of us. They're part of Russia. They used to be part of Russia. They think they're not, but they should be.
Yeah.
So that's how they rationalize it emotionally or whatever.
That's true.
But
I think Richard's onto something with the oil, the gas. And they need those resources,
right?
Because they have limited resources of their own, and this way, not only are they valuable to their people, but they'd be valuable to sell, right?
Well, the Russians have a lot of oil wells. They sell a lot of oil to Europe and China too, but they just want more.
So what happens is Russians have this oil. It has to go over to Europe. The Ukrainians built a pipeline. Said to the Russians, look, just cut right through our country, sell it, you're all set. You don't have to ship it. Problem, the Ukrainians started charging more and more to use that pipeline. Yeah. They were up to $1 million a month when Russia invaded.
Well, million's not really that much, though, for a big country.
I think that may have had an impact on, Putin has also got a...
he wants to create the big empire again.
Yeah, he is.
He even says it.
Nostalgic.
I'm not,
yeah, he's nostalgic for that.
But
anyway, yeah. So I do think that in our mentality, and what you said about the technology has expanded so quickly, we do not have the capacity. Like, our brains have evolved from cavemen, and they had hundreds and hundreds and thousands in some cases of years to absorb stone tools, and then they had the same amount of time to absorb the printing press, and then all of a sudden with the with the
Well, I'm seeing stuff now that they found evidence, archaeologists, that they were using stone tools far back in history than they thought.
So, but the thing is that
Um,
with our technology now,
Right.
it's doubling and doubling and doubling.
Yeah,
and
your
doubling,
point. Yeah,
and we
you're right.
can't-
It's happening so quickly.
Yeah, we can't keep that in our head. But anyway, we haven't talked
Yeah.
about anything on Richard's list yet. So
Oh,
can we-
okay, let's do that. Yeah.
yeah.
How did Cicero die?
I don't know.
Cicero liked to give speeches about people who he thought were corrupt.
What
And-
an interesting.
And
yeah.
he definitely gave a few speeches talking about Mark Antony.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Antony was one of the people who stabbed Caesar.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So for a brief period of time, the conspirators were in charge of the government.
Mm.
And they had a meeting amongst the conspirators saying, what we just did is going to cause a backlash. We better go after them before they come after us.
Mm-hmm.
So they were listing all the people who would probably come after them.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mark Antony said, let's put Cicero on that list.
Cicero got to go.
And they said, well, he's just a teacher. Like, I want Cicero on that list.
Oh, yeah, I think I
was
remember that.
part of the conspiracy, and I have a say. I want.
Yeah.
So they had reluctantly to put Cicero on the list, and they sent somebody out to assassinate him.
So he was assassinated due to the fact that he was bad mouthing Mark
Right.
Anthony.
He could have criticized them too well.
Yeah, I like I said, I probably have read things about things Cicero wrote, but I have such a poor memory that my when I see this say Cicero, did I ever read anything by Cicero? You know, I remember something like that about them going after all the people that they were going to come after them, but I don't think I realized Cicero was part of that.
Yeah, my history knowledge is pretty sparse on all that.
Yeah.
So when the assassins came to his door, even the assassins apologized to Cicero.
We don't want to kill you, but we have to.
We got a job to do. You know,
Sorry,
we
guy.
can't.
Nothing personal.
Right. We can't leave here without you dead. And so they were nice enough to give Cicero his method of how he wanted to be killed.
They used to
Yeah.
do that in ancient.
And
yeah.
he said, I'd like to draw a warm bath.
Slit
Oh.
your
Slit
wrist.
my wrist.
Is that the
It's pretty painless, yeah.
So that's what they used in The Godfather. They used that.
Oh.
Is that the painting?
The death of Marat. That's the
no,
paint.
that
the painting.
oh yeah, because I remember
Yeah.
that painting, the guy in the tub with.
Don't ask me who Marat is, but I remember the painting from art history class at Ball State.
Very similar. Marat was a newspaper writer who wrote an awful lot during the French Revolution about the
Okay.
importance of revolution.
Okay.
So much so that the revolutionaries said he is
A threat.
indispensable to the revolution. Of course, once the revolution happened, the right-wing faction of the revolution took over and the enemies were being guillotined.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Marat supported that and even helped compose the lists.
Ooh,
See the similarities with Cicero?
yeah, yeah.
And so there was one woman who had a relative who got beheaded on Marat's orders.
Oh,
So she walked from her village
really?
all the way to Paris and applied as a job in his household as a maid.
That's really.
And she got the job, and she stabbed him while he was taking a bath.
All I can say is touche.
that
She got her revenge.
that sounds kind of like I just read A Tale of Two Cities again. Well, I listened to Tale of Two Cities again, and there was that one woman who had lost family members, and so she was on the rampage to get to the people that had taken out her family members. So you know that whole revenge thing that was happening back
Yeah.
then, that was brutal. That whole revolution, the after effects of that revolution were brutal.
Yeah.
They killed so many people, and I mean some of the people were pretty guilty of crimes, but some of the people were just like
But you know,
tangential.
innocent people got caught up.
Yeah.
Once you start mass killing people,
And I mean, they were doing the same thing that the other side was doing. Nothing changed but the law. You know, it was just the other side. They flipped it over. But what do you have on your list today? because I know we always have a list. Well, you always have a list. I shouldn't say we. It's not mine.
But he doesn't have a list like those guys that set up Cicero or
No,
anything.
no, no. Cicero is not, well,
You don't, Richard, right? We're still good with each other, right?
Thomas Muntzer,
I don't know who that is.
Muntzer.
Somehow that sounds familiar.
I don't know who it is.
Isn't that odd that
Philosopher?
Nope. Contemporary of Martin Luther.
Mm.
Ah,
So they were both religious teachers,
Mm.
and Luther's position, his radical position was, let's translate the Bible into English
Mm-hmm.
so that everybody
English.
can read it. Prior to that, it was in Latin, and only the clergy could read it and then tell you their interpretation.
right.
So Luther said, let's translate it and everybody can have their own interpretation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the clergy will tell them, either agree or disagree with your interpretation. Muntzer took it a step farther. Muntzer, here's a radical guy. He said, no, that's not quite enough. We don't want this to be about clergy telling us if our interpretation is true or false. In fact, the biggest group in Germany is the peasants.
Mm-hmm.
So why shouldn't the biggest group in Germany have the most power over their lives? Meaning, why don't they demand how much they get paid?
Okay, so
I don't
So-
get the connection.
I-
The
yeah.
connection is, Luther said, we're going to bring God down to the average person's level.
right.
Muntzer said, we're going to bring the rich down or we're going to elevate the poor to the rich level and have them become
so
equal.
So equality was part
Okay.
of the equation.
So Muntzer
Okay.
had this thing where he would give a sermon
Mm.
and he would say, now, did anybody in the congregation have any dreams this week? And somebody would raise their hand. They would tell the congregation their dream. He'd say, people, don't you see how God is talking to this person through their dream? And then Muntzer
Interesting.
would show, pretty much like Sigmund Freud, 400 years, did 400 years later. But he would say, it's God telling you about this, and God is telling you about that and this.
So he was
Right.
interpreting for the peasants what their dream meant
Right.
to meet his criteria of what he thought the peasants should want. He was doing the same thing. He was
But in his
Yeah.
him, his
Yeah.
own aims.
So Luther found out about this Muntzer guy, and Luther was very much about keeping the classes secure.
Mm.
Why? Because the German princes supported Luther.
Oh.
He's not going to bite the hand that feeds them.
right.
So what happens is Luther started preaching, people, it's so obvious that Muntzer is under the influence of the devil.
Oh, there's a
Always
good
use
one.
The devil.
That's a powerful leverage there.
So when this Muntzer's war eventually broke out in the 1500s, the primary goal of the princes was get Muntzer,
So,
assassinate that guy.
Right, like
because
that.
Muntzer they thought was going to start a peasant revolution.
He did.
Yeah,
Oh, he did.
already-
That's what I
It's
wasn't
called-
sure.
It's called Muntzer's War, right? You just said
They call it
Right,
the
I
peasant.
thought
in
that's what
Germany,
you meant, but I
well,
wasn't sure.
There's a German word for it, but it's translated
Sure.
the Peasants' Rebellion.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
And it wasn't just in the town where he lived. It spread like wildfire throughout Germany.
So,
Well, yeah,
what
The princes
century
were-
was that? Like
I could
the
even
s-
give you the date
The-
if
the
you want.
1600s or
It's Germany.
1500s.
It was in the 1500s.
What was it? Germany? Was it called Germany then, or was it Prussia or something?
Good question.
I think it might have been Prussia. Yeah.
Okay, it lasted 2 years, from 1524 to 1525.
Hmm.
Well, repressed people are they're a hair trigger, right? I mean, you don't have enough food to eat. You're hungry.
Yep.
You don't have enough. You can't feed your children. You know, it's only a matter of time.
Right.
And they just needed somebody to say, "You can do this," and he did.
So they got Muntzer, but the rebellion continued.
Hmm.
And they were losing the war the peasants were losing the war, and the princes had a meeting, and Luther was at the meeting, and the princes said, "Why don't we just ask them? They call it suing for peace, right? You're defeated. Let's talk about resolving the
They
conflict."
threw him a couple bones.
Yeah, give them a couple bones, maybe make a few reforms.
Here's some extra wheat
so they
for the
feel
winter.
that they got something for their trouble.
Yeah.
You know what Luther said? God wants you to kill every single person
I was
who
gonna
rose
guess
up against
that.
him. And you
Kill
know what
him.
the princes did? They wrote in their diaries, "Man, this is a
This
priest.
guy's nuts."
Yeah, they said that. For
I
a
didn't-
priest,
I
he is
didn't know-
nuts. How bloodthirsty he is.
I didn't know he was
And
like
so
that.
when I meet people who are Lutherans,
I was going to say, I thought he was such a nice guy.
yeah. When I meet people who are Lutherans, I will often say, "What did you think about the way Luther acted during the Peasant Rebellion?"
And they don't know about it.
Or they say he was temporarily like
Insane.
incapacitated in his zeal.
Yeah,
they,
okay.
they brush over it.
Sure.
Yeah, oh, that's what history
Sure.
is, brushing the great brushing over.
Yeah.
So I have a friend that I used to hang out with, and she's related by like Luther is her great grandfather.
50 generations back or
So
something.
I wish I would have known this when I was hanging out with her. I
Huh.
could have told her about it.
Could have busted on her, yeah.
But
How
yeah,
about this?
I didn't know anything about. I mean, I'm working my way through the BC.
Yeah.
I won't be in like the 1500s for quite some time.
Well, that just reminded me, Richard, of this book that I didn't expect I would learn all this. I didn't know any of it. Maybe 5 years ago, I got this book out of the Buffalo Library called "The Bloody History of London." A lot of it was about London because it was the biggest city then in the 1500s in England. There were several massive peasant rebellions in the 15 and 1600s in England, and it was over land mostly because the wealthy, in the 1500s, the wealthy people were starting to get more and more wealthy, but in England
Wow.
up until the 15 or 1600s, you were allowed, any peasant, any person in England was allowed to go hunt in any woods, to forage for food, grow their food anywhere. But then the rich people started taking over the forests and creating these estates,
Yeah.
these giant estates,
Yeah.
and taking the best land for themselves.
Oh, sorry.
So,
I was just trying to see how much time elapsed. I have no idea.
so
I restarted it.
So
thank
they
you.
the peasants went crazy because they said the common law always, up until the 1500s in England, was that the land belonged to everybody, that anyone could take the fruits of the forest and the fruits of the land. And the rich people were building these giant, walling off these huge estates and hiring armies to guard them. And so there were these giant, incredibly bloody peasant rebellions in the late 1500s and early 1600s in England, and they almost prevailed. And that was that movie V for Vendetta and everything. That guy that tried
Yeah,
to blow
I
up.
didn't see that. Yeah.
You've never seen that? You
No.
got to see that. It was a true story. He tried to blow up like Windsor Castle and take out the monarchy, like in the late 1500s, and it was part of the peasant rebellion, but they got crushed because they brought in like mercenaries from Germany
Right,
and
they
all
don't-
kinds of stuff.
They don't have the infrastructure. Peasants don't have,
Right.
just by definition, do not have infrastructure.
Well, they got a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, they saved up a lot of weapons and stuff like that. But yeah, they didn't have the soldiers that the monarchy put together and everything. But they came close. They came close. But it's still like that in England to this day, where these really wealthy billionaires have giant gated estates that.
Yeah, so do we here.
Right, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's like truly massive, like lands that
Yeah.
that the monarchy owns. Like, have you ever seen Google Diana? I forget her family's last name, Princess Diana. Take a look at the castle
I
her family still owns to this day. They've
Yeah.
owned it for 600 years,
Yeah.
Mm.
and the estate is immense. They were one of the wealthiest families in England, and she wasn't technically blue blood, but her family went back so far, and they were so wealthy that like she wasn't actually related to the Queen's family or anything, but that's why they allowed Charles to marry her, because her family was so powerful. And when I saw the castle that she grew up in, it's truly mind-boggling. It's like nothing you've ever seen.
Do you know
It's,
about the gleaning law?
No.
I know about it, but go ahead.
There was a tradition in France that the rich people started, that there is the time of the year when like fruit trees and are best time to pick the fruit. And so they would put a call out in the city, come on here, pick the fruit, you'll get paid so much for it. So in the course of a day, they would just they would
Wipe it all
descend on the orchards, right? But there was a tradition that the poor people from the city could come the day after
To get what's left.
to get what fell to the ground, maybe stuff that was too high to reach, stuff like that. These were called the gleaners.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Until some rich people didn't like the idea of the poor people coming on their land.
Scraps.
And they said, oh, we don't follow that tradition. You can't come in here. Well, the people were pissed. They came out from the city to pick this stuff. They can't do it. So they appealed to the king. And they said, you got to do something about this. You got to make it official that we can go and pick the food. So many people petitioned the king that the king said, all right, it is officially a law that after the official harvest is over, anybody can come in and take what's left. To this day, people invoke the gleaning law
Cool.
right up until 2025. For example, if you, they have these farmers markets. There are people who go to the farmers markets, there's a 3-day weekend,
Uh-huh.
At 5 o'clock on a Sunday and say,
That's mine.
yeah, you, if you're throwing that out, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Right? And they live off all the food that they get from the markets.
Wow.
Wow.
There's other people who go on to public lands. They like pick the dandelions. You can pick the fruit off the trees in the public parks.
Yeah.
Neat.
Well, gleaning's been going on since written language. I mean, they talk about it in the Bible. So people would go onto the fields, like you said, after the crops were picked, and they were able to glean, and that's how they. So that's been going. So that's a precedent. Like that's a pretty long precedent to try to turn back. But I told you about flash food, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like
It's a similar.
it's gleaning.
maybe Brian doesn't know about flash food.
What the first person I thought of when I saw some of because they have meat, like lots and lots of meat.
I didn't look into it, though.
Yeah, it's got like steaks for like $6, like, and most of it says either good buy, best by today.
So it's around the date.
Or yeah, but you can always freeze it. That's
Sure,
the thing.
sure.
You either eat it or freeze it by this date. But I went to the store today and I saw, because I got it last time I got organic milk.
Prices are going.
I got a gallon of organic 2% milk, and it was like $3.50. I was at BJ's, which is a discount store today, and it was $10.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah, I saw videos last
Yeah.
night on YouTube, people freaking out, and they were doing videos in stores saying, like, 2 weeks ago, this was like half the price of
Yeah.
what it is now. Like,
so
the tariffs are catching up now.
I am a true believer in flash food. I will always. I don't get something every day, but I buy a lot of produce, and then I cook it the same day because, like green beans, pea pods, things like that, and I like it. It's stuff that you would have bought if you didn't really look at the expiration date, because it looks fresh. It's fresh.
So this in the United States, though, there is a faction of wealthy people that still think gleaning is wrong, and that idea has filtered down into the right wing in our society. So a few years ago, there was a big blizzard in Buffalo, which caused power failures. And this story emerged on the local news where a Tops supermarket had a power failure. And they announced during the storm. And they announced to the people, look, you're stuck in here. We're all stuck in here. Let's make the most of it. You know, we have flashlights. We have batteries that we can put into,
Yeah.
you know. So we'll see our way through this. And the employee said, yeah, but it means that the freezers are not working and
Yep.
all that meat's going to go bad. And the manager said, nothing we can do about that. They said, but there is. There's a snowstorm outside. Let's take all the meat,
Stick it outside.
put it outside.
Yeah.
You know what the manager said? We can't do that. People will steal it.
Right.
See, gleaning is bad.
So if it,
Oh yeah.
they'd rather
I was going to
have
say
it-
in America, you try to glean on somebody's orchard, they're going to shoot you.
Well, there were
It's like, forget
there were
about it.
people there were people that live in cities
Mhm.
who eat who I forgot what they call them. They're like foraging in dumpsters of
Oh, yeah.
restaurants
That's been going
and
on for years.
supermarkets, and that's how they eat.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not poor, but that's what they do. They go and
I
they
think most of them are poor. Yeah.
not necessarily.
Homeless.
In New York, it was a big thing for a while. It was a hipster thing. People were dumpster
Well, we
diving.
won't talk about them and the drugs they probably were doing, but because they thought it was cool to dumpster dive. But if you need to do it, I could see it. But
Yeah. Well, the thing
Now,
is,
and this thing that you talked about in New York,
yeah.
that had to do with the jewelry stores dumpsters, because there are certain watch models that do not sell well. And the company puts the word out to the jewelry stores, throw those out because
Wow, I didn't know that.
because it will hurt our
the better models.
not only the better models, but yeah, people are going to say, well, let's say I want to buy, and they give the name of a fancy watch, and somebody says, oh, get this other model.
It'll
You'll
hurt
get it
their
for-
profit
you'll get-
margin.
That's right. You'll get
Yeah.
it for half price.
Yeah.
Okay. So what
Yeah.
people were doing is they were diving into dumpsters to find these old things and then putting them on eBay.
Ah,
That
Oh,
is
yeah.
definitely gleaning.
that's cleaning.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. Should I read a couple poems or?
Sure, you can read a couple poems. Where
Sure.
are we going to start?
I was vacillating between two of these. I think you might like this one, Paul.
Okay.
It's entitled "Believe," and then in parentheses, "for everyone." Believe for everyone. I am a complete spiritual being, just as you are. I am one whole bundle of light, continuously connected to the source and to every other spirit. I am not owned by any emotion or idea, and I am not my fear. My fear doesn't own me, because I am, just as you are, a complete spiritual being, living in one whole circle of light and life. I am endlessly connected to all, and this light will have no end, and we will not be afraid.
Yeah, that speaks to me of, that whole idea. I am not owned by my fear. You know, that's something that I think a lot of people who are suffer from early trauma have to get to, or the place they have to get to. Like you're a whole person. You're not, and that's something like I've been thinking about. How people define themselves, and I think that I have to say you are not merely your body. You are not merely your outside, your shell. You're not that. You're this consciousness that we have that comes from somewhere.
And what has happened to you doesn't necessarily define you.
Right. It doesn't define you at all. But the thing is, you have to let go of it. And so many people we know are still, their parents have been dead for years, but they're still blaming their parents for who they are. and
Right.
and they know, they don't know, but they can let go of that at any time, but they have to be willing to do it because they're defining themselves. We were talking about this, a friend of ours, and who was, Greg and I were talking about, and he has a specific definition of himself that he can't let go of to go further in his development as a person. He defines himself as, I'm in a rock band.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a single guy in a rock band
Mm-hmm.
who doesn't want any commitment in my life.
No intimate commitment.
Because I'm single and I gotta stay that way, and not that people shouldn't be. Some people should be single, but his definition of himself is interfering with him going to the next step in his
Or
evolution.
just branching out, yeah.
Just his mental evolution. He can't go any further. So we were talking about how we are carrying around. I even with Greg, I said, you're defining yourself by things you've done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be who you are now. Because my friend Debbie
True.
Patton, Debbie Patton.
Was she here?
She's a poet. I don't know if she was ever here. But
Mm.
she should have been in the past. She's a good poet.
Mm.
And she told me, I went to an art show that her boyfriend or husband was doing, and I saw her and I said, Debbie, I said, are you writing? And she says, I don't define myself as a writer anymore.
Wow.
I know. I loved that. And I'm like, wow. So she thought, okay, that was a part of her life, but now there's something else going on
Mm-hmm.
that's more important. And I just thought that was brilliant.
Mm.
And so we were talking about that. So this, I find in that poem, I find that idea of defining yourself as a whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and not as your fears or as the things that happen to you. That's really important in a person's development. I mean, is that something you've been thinking about now?
Maybe not in those explicit terms, but yeah.
Yeah, because that's important.
Yeah.
It's important for your
Well, I've always
evolution.
tried to evolve,
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you want to hear the poem about my stepfather?
I do. I want to hear that.
I think everyone. I was surprised, like you said, like things negatively tinged can be hard for people to digest, and people gave me good reactions on this, which it ends well, I think. So it's called My Stepfather's Eyes. Thomas, you are forever with me. When will I be free of your influence? Stepfather, it is only now that I realize the one thing you knew, the awful knowledge that shone in your eyes. It was that look that always froze my thoughts. The secret I could never understand, and it was your only weapon to conquer a small boy, one that could never be conquered by hand. You held the quiet knowledge in your frightened eyes. Always it remained unsaid, always in disguise. But I watched your eyes. I saw the secret, and in me it lies. But it does not lie still. It rages within my mind, a growing, malignant suffocator of all that is good, all that is kind. And this you intended to be free of the pain by giving it to me.
Oh.
You planted the dark secret, the seed of agony. Now I know that this secret of pain, of fear, and of loneliness must never be told again. It can't be part of me. It must be exorcised. It is not for me to feel it like you felt it inside. And as I begin to wage the war against this cancer that lives inside, my wish is that you, Thomas, could see the secret with my eyes. Then soon you'd know where you saw it too. It was in your stepfather's eyes. And he had an alcoholic stepfather that abused him just like he was an alcoholic and abused me.
Wow, that's a
So,
really.
There it is. The
Brian,
stars are the keepers of
yeah,
my bones.
That's a really good poem, Brian. That was an excellent poem.
I just wrote that like a year ago, I think.
That was that it was
Thank you.
really thoughtful and you know and you could
It
see
just popped out of me one day.
but you could see that you've been doing a lot of thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and so when you wrote it, you had a way of expressing that pain, and that's a great poem.
Mm-hmm. But I also, I had a revelation one day. My mom didn't tell me until I was maybe 17 that he had an abusive alcoholic stepdad, and a light bulb went off in my head. And I started putting things together, and I realized that he was afraid, that he was just taking that, like always looked at violence like that as a virus that people pass on to each other, and that he was actually, I was the little boy, I was 6, 8 to 10 years old, and like he would be beating me, and I would actually laugh at him, which made him hit me more. And I'd say, "Do you feel like a big man that you can beat up a little boy? Are you a big man?" When I was 7, I would say that to him. "Oh, you're a big man. Hit me again. Hit me again. Do you feel good?" And then the thing that he hated was I can still do it, but I used to do an excellent imitation of Donald Duck. And he would actually be beating me like hard, and I would start talking Donald Duck to him, and it would inflame him. He would freak, and he'd really beat the crap out of me. But I was making fun of him, and I'd say to him, "You're not a man. You're not a man. A man doesn't do that." And like it's so easy. Basically, it's so easy for you to do what you're doing to me because you're 4 times my size or whatever. But you know, you're not a man. You think you're a big man. You're not a man. You're just not a man. You know, and
well, you had so much anger and hostility in you from this happening that.
well, I've been since for about 6 months. I've been seeing a PhD in psychology. A woman, this woman that she's a doctor, and I've been talking to her about my anger, and I think I've made some strides.
That's
And
good.
I didn't realize that I still had like as much anger as I thought. I thought when I got to be middle aged that I had worked through all this shit.
Me too.
And then it came back, and you know, like I had to talk to her about people that I snapped on in public and stuff, and that were being nasty to me.
It does,
But they had no idea that I'm not the person you want to do that to.
Right. You have to learn. You have to learn how to.
So
You know, it's always now. I always say, consider the source. Consider who it's coming from. What happened to them that
Yeah.
they're behaving like that.
so I actually felt sorry
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
It took me years.
Oh, I know. I have.
I felt sorry that he was the way
Yeah.
he was. I don't think he could. He just and I knew he was weak and he couldn't transcend.
See, I got to
He
that point.
could not
yeah.
transcend.
I got to that point with my stepfather where I felt bad for him.
Mhm.
I thought about, you know, he lost his son to Vietnam.
Oh, really?
and
That's awful. Yeah.
And he married my mother, who was not a very compassionate person, and he, you know, he had I know he had issues, and I don't know what they were, but
Mhm.
I know that he was in a lot of pain. So his pain, you know, came out on me. But I remember that moment when I realized, after he'd been dead for quite some time, and I
Mhm.
said, "My God, my stepfather is still ruling my life,
Right.
and he's been dead for 15 years."
You think you're over it?
But the anger part, all of my negative emotions were anger. I couldn't feel sad because that was vulnerable, so I would be angry. I couldn't feel hurt because that would show I was vulnerable, and it would be anger. So everything was anger, but I didn't know. I thought I had a whole range of emotions, but all I had was anger.
Mm.
You know, that's all I had. So anyway, that's a great poem. I
Thank
can
you.
identify with that, and I'm happy you read that one. So we were having. I wonder if our friend Lou is watching. Lou, are you watching?
I don't see anybody commenting.
No, I know. Usually Lou.
Do you think he has an anger issue?
No, Lou. Lou?
Yeah.
Or no, I don't think Lou does.
I was wondering what connected you
No,
to Lou.
because I looked up at the screen to see if Lou had commented.
Ah.
Yeah. No, I don't think Lou is a good guy. He's a smart, sensitive guy.
Hmm.
But I'm sure we went way over, but that's okay. Is it okay that we're going
yeah,
way
you
over?
can.
Okay, so let's talk about something else on your list.
Mary Todd Lincoln.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Know anything about her?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
She had mental health problems.
Yeah, I know that.
And they surfaced in weird ways.
Hmm.
So at one point, President Lincoln and Ulysses Grant during the Civil War, they got together for a meal, and Lincoln said, "Bring your wife. We'll make a meal, and we can have a little powwow, take a break." So they did, and when Lincoln and Grant went out of the room to discuss the progress of the war, Julia Grant, she walked over to Mary Todd Lincoln and sat down and said, "Oh, now we can have a little talk." And you know what Mary Todd Lincoln said? "How dare you sit down in my presence without asking my permission?"
Wow. Haughty.
Now, if you were Julia Grant, what would you respond?
Well, if I were Julia Grant, I probably would have been shocked. But if I was Paula Vahoviak, I would have made a joke about it. Like, I like to look in your eyes because
What would you say, Brian?
What would I say? Yeah, well, I'm not a female, but I would have been shocked and probably pissed because I don't think any person is above me. I've never felt I've actually, like, when I was a chef, I cooked for people that were worth $1 billion, and I didn't think that I was not impressed. To me, they were equal to me. I didn't care how much money they had.
yeah.
So when Lincoln was going to, after the war ended,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have gone off on her because that's the president's wife, and like, you're probably not getting away with that one.
so after the war ended, I think it was actually 5 days after the war ended, Lincoln sent another message to Grant, and he said, "Why don't we go see, I'm going to go see a play tonight with my wife, and I would like you and Julia to join us in my box." And Julia looked at her husband and said, "I am not going to be sitting down next to that woman, ever again." And so Grant made an excuse, "Oh, we got something else we got to do. I'm sorry, I can't come."
Yeah.
Now imagine if they had gone.
That's the night he got killed.
Yeah.
Was it?
Would the assassin have been more interested in killing Grant than
Oh.
Lincoln?
Okay.
I don't.
Maybe not, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Grant.
Grant was a great general, but yeah.
I think Lincoln was the.
I think you kill the top dog, though.
Yeah.
So the thing about John Wilkes Booth is he was a very famous actor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what?
Yeah.
Do you know what? One of the things that people really admired about him in his acting skills, he was like a ballet, like Baryshnikov.
Really?
And he had this ability to like leap, and it made it seem like he was flying.
Wow.
And people were in awe that he could do that.
Yeah.
So he played at this theater a lot. He knew the back doors and everything. He was not on the stage that night. That was a totally different play.
Yeah.
So what happens is Booth has this thing all worked out,
Wow.
and he shoots Lincoln. He sneaks up to the box. The bodyguard was next door having a beer.
Son of a
Oh,
bitch.
no.
Talk about lax ways of security.
Yeah,
Yeah.
presidential security was almost non-existent until, like, I'm trying to think, Garfield, when he was assassinated, he was shot. Then after that, they formed the Secret Service kind of thing.
In the inquest afterwards, they said to the guard, "Why did you leave the box?" And the guard said, "In the whole history of the United States, not a single president has been assassinated. Why would I think it was going to start tonight?"
Well, because the whole South wanted Lincoln dead. Duh.
So anyway, Booth shoots Lincoln, and always the showman, Booth says, "Oh, I'm going to do one of my leaps." So he leaps
Oh, I
from the
think I heard
box,
something about
right?
that.
He leaps from the box, but it's 12 feet up.
Oh, and he, like, almost broke his ankle or something,
he broke
right?
his leg.
He did
Broke his
break his
leg.
leg.
He did
Yeah.
break his leg, so he had to limp Oh, by the way, when he hits the ground, he pretends he's not hurt,
Yeah.
and he makes a little speech. Thus, this is what happens to all tyrants.
Yeah, that's right.
He's got
yeah.
a horse waiting
Oh,
for him
God.
outside the stage
There were
door.
a lot of conspirators.
He could have escaped.
So anyway, he gets on the horse. Now imagine
If
how
he
painful
wasn't a
that is.
fool and did the leap.
You like to ride horses?
Yeah.
Bouncing with a broken
No,
leg.
I can't.
Oh, man.
No, because you have your foot in a stirrup and you have to put pressure to hold
Oh,
on
yeah.
to the horse. That would have been. He probably had to let his leg hang there and only
Right.
hang on with the one leg.
Right.
Oh my God, that must have been awful.
So they drove.
Stop feeling sympathy for him.
Yeah.
But you're right.
They drove to another state, and there was a river that separated the two states, and there was a ferryman. And so they said, we'd like you to take us and our horses across. And the ferryman's a real convivial guy. And he says, oh, well, you're doing this in the middle of the night? A lot of people don't come here in the middle of the night. Well, why are you doing that? Oh, well, we got business in the other state. They didn't want to tell him. And he looks at the sweat pouring off of John Wilkes Booth's face, and he says, are you okay, sir? It looks like you're in pain. Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. So they make it across to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, Booth says, I can't do this anymore. My leg is killing me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, let's go find a farmhouse.
Oh, he went to a barn, right? Yeah.
Well, he went to a farmhouse. They knock on the door. We are loyal Southerners, and and we would like to entreat upon you. Just give us refuge for the night. So my friend, he can stay till morning. We can go into town and get some medicine for his leg, probably opium,
Yeah.
and we can do it. And you know what the father of the house says? How do I know that you were loyal to the South? And Booth,
Oh,
he makes
no.
up a
He
bullshit
tells-
story.
Oh.
I happen to serve as a lieutenant in so-and-so division of General so-and-so's,
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what the guy said? I was
In
I
that
was
division.
in that division.
I don't know.
You weren't a lieutenant in that division. And you know what
Oh,
the
no
wife
shit.
said? She said, honey, his heart is in the right place. And you know what he says, okay, you could stay in the barn, okay? So when they go in the barn,
Wow.
he locks it, thinking, I don't want my wife to know I'm doing this, but in the morning I'm going out to town. There's something
He didn't
fishy.
believe him.
There's something fishy with this guy, this
Yeah,
bullshitter, you know. That's why when
He was caught.
when the Union troops pulled up to the house, husband and wife come out on the porch again. We're looking for a guy, two guys. You guys got a horse. You probably got a broken leg. He points right at the barn. No hesitation, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't care if these are Union soldiers or not.
He didn't want
Yeah.
the Union troops to go off on him. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So I had no idea
That's a
how
great
he
story.
got caught.
So they went, and the lieutenant of that little brigade
Yeah.
who went up to the barn door, he did what he was supposed to do. He knocks and he says, if you come, I'm from so-and-so, we're here to arrest you. If you come out peacefully, you will not be unharmed, but of course you're going to be shackled. We're going to take you back to town. Well, the guy that Booth is with says, I'm coming out. I'm coming out.
Yeah.
I don't care what he says. I'm coming out. And so Booth says, go. I'm not. And so he comes out, and then they close the door and they lock it again. And they say to Booth, your last chance, are you coming out? And the lieutenant had lost 4 in-laws during the Civil War. Okay? And he's looking through the crack in the barn door. And Booth says, sir, I am a loyal American. I did the right thing. Think about it. Now that Lincoln is dead, even though the war is over, it's going to help the peace negotiations, and the South will get more in the peace negotiations. So he's trying to reason with the guy. The guy's thinking about all the people who were killed that he knew by Southerners. So when he sees Booth reach for the rifle and stand up, he doesn't say anything else.
I thought
Shoots
they
him
took
right-
him into custody, no?
Nope, they did not.
Oh.
He got killed right there, right
Yeah.
through the
Oh, I'm
cracks in the
thinking
door.
of there was someone in Lincoln's administration, one of the cabinet secretaries, who colluded with the South or something. There
Could
was
have
a
been.
there was a connection. I forget why he was pissed at Lincoln for something, and one of his, like, not a Secretary of State, the Undersecretary of State or something. And they went after. They found him. They found there was a big conspiracy. It wasn't just Booth. There was an actual conspiracy, and they went after all of them
Right.
and hung them.
There was somebody who was supposed to take out the vice president. Somebody
Oh,
to
yeah,
take
yeah,
out
I
the
remember
secretary. Of
that.
State.
Yeah.
Secretary of State had hurt himself in a horse riding accident, and he had one of those neck bandages on.
Yeah.
And the guy didn't chicken out. The guy chickened out for the vice president.
Yeah.
But the guy who was supposed to kill the
Right.
Secretary of State, he saw him riding by in a carriage. He leapt up, opened up the door, and stabbed him in the neck. It didn't go through.
Oh, okay, that's what it
man.
was.
Talk
Yeah.
about luck.
That
Wow.
Was yeah, I know so little about American history. I really do. I know very little.
I
but-
don't know that
But
much
I
either,
did
really,
know
but-
that there were other people that were supposed to be killed that night that didn't
Yeah.
get killed.
Interestingly enough, one of the people who they really went after hard was the boarding house woman
Yeah,
where John Wilkes Booth stayed. Isn't that
before he
interesting?
did the deed.
Why
Yeah.
was that?
I think it was like misogyny, don't you think? Even though she was a loyal Southerner.
Yeah, they were really brutal on her, and I think
she
her,
got hung, didn't she?
yeah, and they were brutal to her family just by association too, because everybody got so angry.
Wow. Yeah. So maybe they thought that she had heard something about the plot.
Yeah,
or
Yeah, no,
something
they
like
said
that.
she knew.
Yeah, she knew when she didn't say anything, so that
Yeah.
meant she gets a death penalty.
Yeah, that's pretty.
A little harsh.
It's yeah. Well, I guess
They were really upset.
the president was gone. You know.
Well, he's
That
a
was
legend.
brutal.
Yeah, he was.
I think that still is in the books in the legal library that if you know a crime is about to be committed,
Accessory
Yeah,
after the fact or before the
that
fact.
before the fact.
before
Yeah.
the yeah,
Right.
you're supposed to report it.
Even though you're not involved.
Right. Otherwise, they're going after you.
Like
Yeah.
even your psychiatrist, if he's a doctor, normally doctors or attorneys are covered by client privilege and they don't have to divulge anything unless they know they're going to
Harm,
kill
yeah.
people.
The harm to
Then
somebody else,
they
yeah.
can give any notes or any evidence to the police, and
Yeah.
they're supposed to
Yeah,
call
they-
the police.
There's right. That is that they're mandated reporters.
Yeah.
and they have to. So
Yeah.
they do tell you that when you go into therapy. You know, if you're going to hurt someone else or yourself,
yeah.
you know, all bets are off. It's not confidential anymore. So,
Well,
Yeah.
James Walker told me he does hair removal for a living, and he
Right.
gets a lot of transvestite clients. And he said, I'm more than just a hair removal specialist. He said, I'm a confidant.
I heard him say that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
sure.
said, well, what do you mean? And he said, in a lot of states, in order to get the operation to transform your gender, you must attend 5 sessions with a psychiatrist.
Right.
And he said, the psychiatrist asks these people a lot of questions, and they answer them in such a way that it will not cause the psychiatrist to say, this person should not be allowed to get the operation.
Right.
Oh, so he helps the people with that?
So what happens is when they see him, they tell him everything.
Oh, I
Right.
see.
Like,
Yeah, the
part
real,
of me
the
wishes
real
I
deal.
was still a man or something like that,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah,
Things
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
They can't tell the doctor that. Yeah.
No, they can't. They can't tell. Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically,
I didn't know all that. I heard him say he's more than just a hair removal
well,
guy.
And right. The thing is, this is at a very important place. A person who is changing gender, it's got to be a mind.
I can't conceive of it
mind-blowing.
myself, but
because you don't feel like you're the wrong gender. You know,
No.
you're comfortable with the fact you're a man. I'm comfortable with the fact I'm a woman.
Right.
But you know, in order to do this, you got to do a lot of soul searching, and you, especially if you have the surgery. You know,
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
yeah.
But I never. I mean, I was, you know. But I think about these things sometimes. I think, and I'm not, and nothing against gender transition because, you know, it is what it is now. But I was a tomboy as a kid because my father and mother wanted a boy.
Mhm.
When I was born, they didn't even have a girl's name picked out. That's why my name is Paula. And so, because it
You were
was supposed to be
Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if I was a young kid and because I knew this thing. They told the story all the time. I was supposed to be their first boy, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know if I was a
Jeez.
tomboy because I wanted to make them happy.
Right.
And would I have had those thoughts that maybe I should be a boy?
Here's a question
So you
for
didn't
two.
have any of those thoughts, right?
I didn't, because first of all, it wasn't a thing.
I think you might have been. My impression of you is just that you were a tomboy because that's the way you are. And like, I was shocked. My mom started telling me when she got older, she was a big tomboy.
Yeah.
And she was one of the prettiest women. She was going to be in the New York State pageant and everything. My mother's beautiful.
Right.
And her parents freaked out because they'd go to New York City and buy her a very expensive dress, like in the 1940s or something.
Yeah.
And she'd put it on and go play in the mud, and my grandmother would flip.
Well-
Why are you climbing trees with that $200 dress on or whatever? And my mom, well, I wanted to climb trees. I
Right,
want,
you know, and
and
I-
I was like, what? You were like that?
I think that there was a modicum of my parents wanting a boy, that like, I had more male friends than female friends on my street,
Mm.
and I enjoyed doing the boy stuff because the girl stuff was boring, frankly.
I think that's what my mom said, too.
Yeah. So, but would I have ever had that thought in my head, like maybe I should be a boy? And I don't know if I don't feel like that. I never
Yeah.
thought that I wanted to be a boy, but I don't know how this information is affecting kids now.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
this
agree,
new
yeah.
thing, like you have a choice.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Do you think that your gender is something that you're born with or something you are socialized into?
It's complex. I think it's partly socialization, but
No, the
partly
whole-
genetic, partly
Yeah.
socialization. And genetics are really complicated. Society is really complicated. I think it's an amalgam of all these different things. But I agree with you. I wonder too, because my son is very anti. Like, he believes kids are being kind of indoctrinated with these ideas, and I understand how he thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said to him, well, I know what you're talking about, because if these things weren't so out there in the media and the kids weren't presented, would they really think about it?
But I
as
do.
much,
but
but-
I do think there's a legitimacy to.
Mm.
Well, for instance, with Nessa, she's cross-gender. Now, she was born with aspects of her physically of both genders,
Mm.
and there's like more kids than you can imagine.
That happens, yeah.
That happens to, and they choose their sex at birth depending on what's more prevalent. And now I think they're starting to say, okay, you're
They
by
wait.
gender, we're going to let you wait to make the decision yourself, which is, I think, healthier for everybody. And I think people are more comfortable with that now. But there's a lot of questions
Well,
about
some
that.
people are anyway, but
Yeah, and I look at all this stuff and I think to myself, if the universe has got an energy and is in charge of all of this, maybe this is a population control mechanism. I mean, there's too many people. let's
Right.
Of course, the birth rate's way down.
But I think there's some genetics definitely involved in, like, say, the Native Americans. I know most Plains tribes, they had a word for it. They had in their language, like every generation or might skip a generation, there'd be a male member of the tribe that just identified as a woman
Yeah,
and
they
would
had
dress as a
they
woman,
would-
and they would make that person live in their tent on the outskirts of the village, but close to the
Well-
village. They didn't totally include
Yeah,
them,
it was-
but they didn't beat them up,
No,
and
it
they
was
didn't.
more. It was more than that. They
would be shamans
the
and
men,
stuff too, but
the men would take what was called a second wife. It was company for the wife. I don't know if there was any sex involved, but it was a second wife, and it was somebody that was transgender. But in India, there's Hajaras, and the Hajaras are transgender. They're men to women.
right.
So this has been going on since the beginning of
That's what I
time.
was leading
Yeah.
up to. It's been happening in cultures for a long time.
Yeah. So I mean,
And
I don't think there's anything. I just it was just a thought that popped into my head when I was thinking about my own experience as a young person.
Mhm.
I would have felt that I would have been more wanted as a boy,
Right.
more
Yeah,
loved
probably.
as a boy. And so how would my brain have worked at that age? I don't know. I'm not that age anymore. I don't have that
I
same
see what you're
mindset.
saying.
So I don't know how I would have.
You mean in
accepted
today's
it.
world, if you were in that position and you knew
Right.
your parents wanted a boy,
Right. It
how
was
you would have adapted?
how I always what would my thoughts have been as a child with very little information, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've met several other people that related to me the same thing you just did, or that you did to us.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a woman that lives in my building that I know fairly well, and they did the same thing with her name. They just expected a boy, and then
Yeah.
she showed up, and they just changed the name a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
And I was like, "What?" Like, and she's like, "Yeah, they." She's like, "I knew." She was a little more, I think, damaged by it, actually, because she said her father would go on about, like you kind of mentioned, that, oh, I should have had a boy. What good are you? Like, he was very
yeah,
negative
my
about it,
father
though. But
never said
um,
that, but he was disappointed that I wasn't a boy. Because
You
my
know.
mother convinced him I was going to be the doctor even said, "Oh, the heart rate's too strong," because they didn't have tests. Heart rate's too strong to be a girl.
yeah, they didn't have sonograms and all that. Yeah.
So that brings us
So-
back to the original topic of tribe.
yeah,
Tribes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And who's in and who's not in.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've got I didn't read the part that about that. Wait, if I can find it. Here it is. A tribe can be. This is the American Psychological Association definition of what tribalism is. In its simplest form, it is loyalty to one's tribe or social group. It can be based on any number of factors: ethnicity, religion, nationality, political affiliation, or even shared interests like crafts. Everyone's into this club. So they all kind of talk their own language kind of thing and do the same things. And
Yeah,
that's always bothered me about people. Like, I've never liked joining clubs. I've always been anti-organization, really, because I don't like being pigeonholed. Like, maybe it's kind of like the thing like your friend, which said, well, I don't define myself as a writer anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would kind of describe myself as a poet because I've been doing it for 45 years.
right.
And I don't think I'll ever stop doing
Right,
it.
because you're still
But,
doing it. But with her, it was a sense that that's something I used to do. And
Right.
I don't do that anymore.
And I'm down with that. I'm down with
I
that.
think I thought that was a great. I mean, it was great self-knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Not sitting around saying, "Why can't I write anymore? What's the problem? Aren't things coming to me?" She just said, "You know what? I'm just not. It's just not me anymore." I loved that. I thought that was so wise and
Yeah, I think everyone should have the right to form the type of personality and person they want to be.
yeah. It's like
You know?
all of the creative projects, yes, that was great. We made all those movies, but we don't. It's become arduous at this point in time. So it was fun and it was engaging,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't mean just because we're not doing it now that it wasn't a valuable experience, and we're not just not doing it anymore because we're lazy. It's just not happening anymore. I like that idea because you move on. You especially know that with all the projects and things you've done out of this house. You move on to the next thing. Oh, look at that. 15 seconds, 14 seconds.
You
Okay.
want to say your goodbyes?
Thank you, Richard, for
I love this. I love
facilitating.
this rock. I have one just like it, but
Thank-
smaller.
Thank you, Brian, for loving the rock.